Okay, so a little cold outside again today, and I just don't want to go outside. So I thought I'd do something a little different. I mean, not really. I mean, I've done these kind of videos before, but not this year. Thought I'd talk about the wood stove a bit. What we do, why we do it, what you probably do, and why I feel like what we do is a lot better. So, we start the wood stove several times a day. Not several. It depends on the temperature. But I think yesterday, we might only lit it one time. What I do normally on a cold morning, I get up at 4:30, I start the wood stove. The house is about 65. Well, I mean, it's been down to 57 before. But typically it's around 65. And then the house stays fairly warm. It gets up to 80 degrees, and then it gets starts to drop down, and by, I don't know, well, it depends really, but most of the time around somewhere between noon and 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the temperature gets down to 65 again, 62, somewhere around there. I think right now we're at 67. And then I'll light it again. And then I try really hard to light it again before we go to bed. Now, when it gets really cold and really windy, I may have to get up in the middle of the night and start it. I don't know if that's going to be true. I will be honest, when we had the cat seemed to dislike the cold a lot. So I did start the wood stove based on how she was reacting to things. I know that's probably silly, but that's what I was doing. Whereas the dogs, they seem to be just the opposite. They would prefer a little chilly in here instead of hot. You know, when it got hot in here, the cat would just go under the bed and it seemed like it was fine. But these dogs, they don't like the hot near as much. So I've been trying to let the temperature cool down to a temperature where they seem comfortable. And then I try not to get it much above 80 degrees for them, because that just seems to be about their limit. Then, so that's about 2 o'clock I do that. And then again, right before I go to bed, 8:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, I light it up again. And that gets us through the night. And then when I wake up in the morning, there again, it's, 4:30. And the temperature's, somewhere around, well, anywhere between 57 and probably 65 degrees. This has seemed to work really well for us. Now, I know a lot of people, they have their house and they keep their stove lit as much as they possibly can. They're always worried about embers in the morning. They got to have embers in the morning. You see videos on that all the time. I don't worry about embers. I let the embers burn completely out and just restart it. It's just not that hard. Of course, if you're trying to light it like a real man and use newspaper, and then, yeah, I guess you're worried about embers, but I just use a torch, so I don't have to worry about it. And it really isn't that hard to light. Now, you'll see that I'm stacking in really small sticks. And I find that this burns hotter and faster, gets it up temperature quickly, and then it just dies off. We don't have these, you don't have these huge backlogs and all that stuff that you got to mess with. And and the thing is over the years, we've gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean, it's basically kindling now, a long piece of kindling. And it works great. I mean, when it's really cold in the morning, I might have to throw another batch of wood in it, 2 or 3 sticks like this. But typically, it's just one-time load and we're done. So as you can see, I'm cross-stacking. North, south, east, west, north, south, east, west. And then, I shut the door. I get criticized, why do you shut the door so much? I'm making sure the wood doesn't hit the glass. It's really a bad idea to have a full flame going, then you try to close the door and it won't close because the wood just hit the glass. Actually, I think I'm going to change this piece here. There we go. Now, the wood itself, This is walnut. You can see the walnut there? That's walnut. I know a lot of people say that you're supposed to save the walnut, sell it, you make lots of money. You never pay back the cost. I mean, we have like maybe 10 trees here that are walnut. Maybe not even that much. You know, you have to have the trailer, the truck, the saws. You know, are you going to take it to a sawmill or are you going to do it yourself? It doesn't seem like it would be worth it to me. So we have walnut, and then we have our moisture tester. And all this is 2 probes. And you turn it on. And then what you need to do is split the wood. Now, I haven't split this, but if I wanted to test this, I would split it. And then I take that side that it was just opened up, and I would push it in. This says 13%. But if it was split, you want to get inside where the moisture is, because this outside is now dry. Now, the thing is since it's so small, it really doesn't take much to dry. So you want 20% or less, and our wood is all very dry. And I know that people just argue with this relentlessly, that we are wrong, you want wet wood. Well, wet wood just doesn't work. This is an 85% efficient wood stove. So that means that, in simplistic terms, just to make this to make sense, not that I'm trying to be very scientific about this, because somebody's going to say, that's not how it works. And then they'll go to Google and tell me exactly how it works, which, you know what? I know how to use Google. I just knocked down the entire wood stack here. And it's an avalanche. I can't get it to stay up there. So, but in simplistic terms, I'm using 85% of all the wood that I put in it to heat the house. Pretty basic, simple way of looking at it. But if there's water in it, then you're using a lot of that energy, 70% of it as a matter of fact, to boil off the water. So you're only getting 30% efficiency out of your wood. So it's, I understand that you want to have all these coals and you have all these reasons. My grandma and grandpa used to run wood stoves. I know what I'm talking about. Your grandma and grandpa didn't have a stove like this. I know. We're not allowed to talk about the EPA because they're dangerous. It's an EPA wood stove. Say what you will about the EPA. I would imagine if the EPA had never built a stove, required a stove like this, that the industry would have went this direction anyways. This is an amazing wood stove. It's got afterburners, reburners. And what they do is it takes the smoke, which is wood. The smoke is wood particles that's floating up into the sky. It takes that smoke, those wood particles, and burns them, just like a candle. If you ever lit a candle, blew it out, and the smoke comes up, you can light that smoke. It's exactly what this does. So you're getting more heat. You're not wasting all that wood particle out the chimney. And now a lot of people have these little ideas on what you can do to make it better. They'll put a fan on the flue and say, okay, you gotta regulate it with the, or you can get more heat off the flue because you're wasting all that heat up the chimney. Well, yeah, I guess the logic is there. The problem is when you cool off the flue, you're not getting a draw. You want that draw. You want that heat to go up the chimney because heat rises. And so then you're getting more air into the burn box. It makes it hotter in there. If you cool that chimney, you're going to get creosote in it, first of all, especially if you're running wet wood. So you get creosote in there, and you're not going to get the draw. So your fire down here is cooling off. Your chimney's cooling. Everything's cooling off. Just let it burn. Then, of course, everybody talks about you got to have the flapper in the flue. You don't need a flapper. Well, the EPA, if you were to build it to code, you're not supposed to have that flapper. This is designed to burn efficiently. This is all you need. And, well, if you get a chimney fire, you're going to need that flapper. Well, don't get a chimney fire. You know how you prevent chimney fires? Don't burn wet wood. I mean, we've cleaned this chimney. The first year we were here, it was wet. I mean, we had no choice. We had to burn wet wood. It was our first year. We couldn't find dry wood, so we burned wet wood. We had 2 chimney fires. And but since then, I mean, we've not had a problem at all. At all. I have just found this to be the most efficient way of doing things. Now, if we live in a bigger house, I may say it a little differently. But here's the thing. People talk about how expensive everything is nowadays. I don't find anything expensive. Anything. I'm quite satisfied with the way prices are. Fine. Gas prices, food prices. I paid $5,000 for this house, $4,000 for the property. I've got $9,000 invested in my living quarters. Who else can say that? What are you buying a house for? $100, $200, $300, $500,000 plus all your taxes? My taxes are 47 bucks. Don't forget, you gotta pay taxes. I can sell anything for 47 bucks. But if you're paying thousands of dollars in taxes, yeah, I can see how that's kind of a criminal thing. But I don't pay for heat. Very little. Even if I had to buy gas, it wouldn't take anything to heat this place. I bet I could do it for 100 bucks a year. You figure I buy a cord of wood for, well, let's just say 150 bucks. That lasts me all year. One cord lasts me all year to heat the house. Most people can't get through a month with a $150 heat bill. And then they complain that they can't make it. Well, what are you heating? Well, you're in the living room, you're watching TV, and you're heating the kitchen. Why are you heating the kitchen? You're not in the kitchen. You're heating the bedroom. You're not in the bedroom. You're in the living room. I just heat all of it at once. We're in it all. A bed in the shed. That's all this is. People say, well, you need to expand it out. Have the porch as part of your house. Okay, that's more to heat. Why do I want to heat it? I don't need it. What do I need the space for? I've not been completely convinced of that. You've got to have all this space. I find the arguments interesting. They argue for what they already have, which they already argue they can't afford. So if you don't like the way things are going, it's cognitive dissonance. I can't afford it, but I got to have it. No, you don't have to have it. Just reverse your thinking. Get rid of all the garbage that you've been convinced of all your life. People, growing up, what is it? The American dream, to have a house, car, dog, children, picket fence. Why can't the American dream be what it is that you want to do? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, everybody seems to assume that the pursuit of happiness means being rich, having money. I don't have money. I live in a tiny house, and I'm telling you, I'm pretty dang happy. Happier than I've ever been, because I don't have to go to work and stress myself with an employer. I mean, I work. I repair lawnmowers, or make YouTube videos. But I don't have that stress. I got to get up, go to work, listen to the boss scream and yell, threaten to fire me every 10 seconds, sending me emails, nasty emails at midnight. I don't have any of that. So, if all I got to do is light the wood stove a few times a day, live in a tiny house, 150 bucks a year for the firewood, and I have no other bills. Solar panels paid for, trucks paid for, everything's paid for. We pay for cell phones, truck insurance, what other reoccurring? Oh, I have self-defense insurance, $25 a month. I don't think there's anything else. I have Amazon Prime, but that is for the lawnmower business, so we write that into the overhead costs of the lawnmower business. So, I mean, there's just not a lot of bills. And the thing is if I lost all that, I really don't need it. The truck insurance is probably the only thing I really got to have so we can go and get groceries. Other than that, I don't need any of it. This, I can get firewood from our woods if I wanted to cut them down. Gotta have the chainsaw. Okay, well, I gotta have a chainsaw, but I know how to fix chainsaws. I can pick up a cheap chainsaw off Facebook Marketplace, get it running for 20 bucks. We're talking about minuscule cost. People want to exaggerate my cost. Chainsaw. I mean, I could have a nice running chainsaw. Well, as a matter of fact, that steel chainsaw down there, I completely rebuilt as a hobby project. That's all it was. And I probably don't have $100 into it. I spent less on that steel chainsaw, fixing it up, playing with it, learning how to rebuild the engine, the whole thing, for less money than when I get a Home Depot Poolin chainsaw. So I just don't need a lot. Carolyn doesn't need a lot. I think our biggest expense right now is the dogs. I mean, we adopted 2 stray dogs that were starving to death. That's probably our biggest expense. So I don't see it. I mean, I just don't understand it. Just don't get it. So if you'll click this up next box, take the video over my other channel. Really appreciate it. Go check it out. So I hope I can inspire you. I don't know, minimize your life. You might be happy. Thanks for watching.